Okay, good morning everyone, and thank you for joining us again this morning. Um, is that okay, Friday, Jai? Thank you for joining us. And Stella, you were the one that asked the question about expressive functions, right? Hello, can you hear me?
Sorry, what did you say?
You were the one that asked the question about expression function, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
good. Because we might actually do something. I was trying to avoid doing something like that in the last class because I just introduced you guys to functions. But we'll do something close to that today. And you would, it was actually known by another name. It was after the class I remembered it was actually known by another name. So the name you actually called it was kind of caught me off guard. But anyway, since we are about 9 of us are here already, so we can actually get started. When the others come, they'll probably use the recording we'll be making available. That's what they will use because we don't really have time to wait all day on that. All right. So today we would still go back to looking at. We'll start from functions again, and although I promised some people will be looking at algorithms today, and we'll be doing that. But the funny thing is, the people who asked that question, okay, I think one of them is around, but the other one is not, and that should be what's that lady's name? Glory, but she's not really around. But anyways, we can't really just keep waiting. So what I'm going to do today is, let me keep using the same file I used in the last class. You can still use you can have a new file if you want to do that, but I will still use this former file I have here. All right, so in the last class, we introduced ourselves to functions, and we explained the fact that functions are just a reusable piece of code. I think I still have that definition somewhere here. So they're just reusable piece of code that you can use over and over again. Yeah. All right. And then we also talked about the return statements in the function. And some of us were finding it a bit too hard to like grab the concept. So what I'm going to do today is, let me turn that off. All right, perfect. So what I'm going to do today is we'll still talk about functions, but I want to use a different kind of example. So those who really did not get it would get it. But since they are not around, like I said, they will probably have to use the recorded video material. All right. So in the last class, we discussed about functions and how to declare one. So to make a function, you just simply use the function keyword. This is the simplest function you can have. So you just say function, give it a name. All right. So in this case, let's say we want to write a function that will greet a person. Okay, irrespective of what the person's name is, the function will be able to greet everybody randomly. So we'll go ahead and just say function, okay, followed by the name of the function. In this case, let's call this function, let's go ahead and call this greet, like we did in last class. Now, after the function name, the other thing that is expected is the parameter, the open and close bracket. Now, this open and close bracket is where you tell the function if you will be passing anything to it or not. If you leave it empty, it means you are not passing any variable to it. So let's leave this empty for now. And then you open curly brace and you close curly brace. Don't forget, we said a function is a reusable piece of code. So a lot of times you might have more than one line of code. So let's do a console.log here. So we'll do a console.log hello, and go ahead and save that. Now, to keep this class interactive, until we start working on the to-do app, because we have to work on that today. Until we start working on the to-do app, for now, I'll be running my Java code, my JavaScript code in command prompt here. For you, don't worry about what I am doing. Don't worry about where I'm running it. Most of you are used to running on a web browser. Please leave it. In order for you to run here, you have to do some configurations we don't have time for. But I don't want to be going back and forth. Okay, you know what? So I don't confuse some people. Let's just go ahead and run it in a browser. because I have to answer some queries as to why I'm not running it there. Let me go ahead and run it in the browser to just keep everything there. Fair. All right, good. So I have this here now. Let me run it at this path. Let me share this in space. Console. No. Let's pin this to the bottom. All right, perfect. Good. So let's come back to our app. Share this like this way. All right. So let's save this again. Perfect. So now we are done with this function right here. In order to execute the function, like we said, you have to call the function. And how do we call a function? Just go ahead and pass the function name there. Okay, so that's how we basically call a function. All right, so you just go ahead and pass the name of the function. In this case, we'll call this greet. So you call the function by its name. All right, what is happening there? I think I don't know why that is not running there. Okay. Let me rerun this. Okay, can you? Okay, this is actually not running. I don't know why that is not running. Let me rerun this. Open with live server. Okay, let me go ahead and copy this. Run it here. Alright, that should do it. Inspect. To the bottom. Alright, good. So come to the console. Alright, that should fix that. Perfect. So we are good to go here. Alright, so as I was saying, in order for you to write a function, you use the function keyword followed by the function name, open and close parameter, and then you put the function code in there. If you want to call the function, you just go ahead and call the function by its name there. But as we learned in the last class, a function can also take in what is referred to as a parameter. A function parameter is just a variable that you want your function to use. In this case, if I want to say hello to somebody's name, right, I can tell this function that it's expecting a parameter called name, and when it grabs the name, it should concatenate it with this hello here and print it to the console. Of course, if we do this now, we know that we have to pass in a variable to this function whenever we are using it. So to do that, what we need to do in this case now is just in there, when we are calling the function, passing the name like Sarah, and boom, that would fix that for us, and it will work fine. All right, now that's that for functions. Okay, in the last class, we also made mention of return statements in a function. So I'll briefly talk about that or is there anybody here that doesn't understand return statements? If we all do, let me leave that. Okay, 2 people. It seems both of you were not with us in the last class. Or were you?
No, I wasn't.
What about you, Abdurrahman? All right, you know what? Not to drag others behind, what I will do is let's actually we will not be using the concept of return functions in this class. So what I will do is I will avoid using it, and I will drop an article. I'm actually working on a video on that, so I'll be posting a video on my YouTube channel like today, or I'll be posting a video on the YouTube channel today or tomorrow on return on functions, so you can learn about return functions on it, so we don't drag every other person back. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
All right, good. So now let's talk about algorithm before we move ahead and start working on our project for today. Now, the concept of algorithm, for the people who brought this up, algorithms. Okay, someone brought this up and we are supposed to talk about it today. Now, to explain this, the first thing I'll tell you is when you hear the word algorithm, don't just tie your mind to programming. All right, when you hear the word algorithm, don't just tie your mind to programming. Don't think it only has to do with just programming. To make this fair, let me open up my browser here and let's search for that word on Google. Let's see what Google tells us it is. All right, so let's go ahead and search for the term algorithm on Google and let's see what Google says. Let me zoom in so we can see it. All right, I guess that's a bit clear enough. All right, let me look for a definition that is a bit Microsoft Bing. So let's go to all right, perfect. So let's search for algorithm. All right. Now, if we look at the definition that we get here, it says an algorithm is a process or set of instructions followed in calculation or other problem-solving operations, especially by a computer. You know what? That definition is kind of way out of it. So let me break this down simple. An algorithm is nothing but just a step-by-step instruction followed to solve a particular problem. Now, that's why I said whenever you are thinking of the concept of algorithm, you should take your mind off programming. It's not just related to programming, it's in every aspect of life. Okay? Now, it's just an approach to solving problems. That is what it is. And that's why you mostly hear the definition, or people define it as a step-by-step instruction followed to solve a particular problem. Now, let's look at this definition here. Okay, what is an example of an algorithm in real life? This says a step-by-step process that is completed the same way everything is. Okay, the same way every time is an algorithm. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, a step-by-step process that is completed the same way every time is an algorithm. Okay, that actually does make sense. So in other words, what that is saying is an algorithm is nothing but a step-by-step instruction or procedure followed to solve a particular problem or a particular task. For example, now, if I tell you that I want to learn how to cook rice, I'm very sure for the guys here, not ladies, guys, how many of us here don't cook rice before? Just wave your hand, may I see you? Okay, good. Now, if there is something you will know about cooking rice, okay, is you will discover that there is a pattern to it. What I'm trying to say is, let's just say what you want to cook is just white rice, nothing more than that. Okay, just basic white rice, no jollof or salad or anything like that. You will discover there is a pattern to it. Then we can write down the step in cooking white rice, and if you follow that step every time, you will end up cooking white rice. For example, we can say, okay, the first one is get the rice and wash it, put a pot on your cooker or your stove or whatever you are using to cook, wash the rice inside it, leave it to boil for like 20-30 minutes depending on how hot the cooker is, and then when it's done, bring it down. Funny thing is, if you look at those steps we have listed, if you follow that step every single time, you will discover that you will be able to cook the same rice every single time. So that step that we listed, number one, wash the rice. Number two, put water in the pot or whatever. Number three, do this. That step we have listed is what we refer to as an algorithm. All right. So those steps we have just listed. Okay, the steps that says cook, wash the rice, do this, do that, is actually what we refer to as an algorithm. So algorithms is not just tied to programming alone. That's why I am saying whenever you're thinking of the concept of algorithm, take your mind off programming, take your mind off coding. Okay, it's not just associated with coding, it's associated with everything in life. You will see some people, I've actually met some people that they find it very easy to recognize patterns. What I mean is, whenever you give them a problem to solve, okay, let me take us back to our maths days in school. Now, when I got a bit older, I discovered the reason why a lot of people fail maths or they don't really pass a particular, for example, let's take quadratic equation, for example, in school now, right? We were all taught quadratic equation and everybody just tried to understand it and solve it. Funny thing was, when I got, I think, to the higher institution, and I met that topic again, and I spent time studying it, I discovered that most of the maths equation that we get, okay, most of these maths equation that they give us, there is always a process to solving it, right? There is always a process, like a step, what you do first, what you do next, when you get a particular answer, what you do next again. Now, those steps that I'm talking about is what we just refer to as an algorithm. So take an algorithm to be like an outline. Okay, take it to be like an outline that if you follow a list of instructions that if you follow, you'll be able to solve a particular problem. Now, the thing is, all algorithms are written or are developed or designed to solve a problem. So every algorithm is written to solve a problem. For example, now, let's say I want to travel to Ikeja for the first time. I've never been there. All right, I want to travel to Ikeja for the first time. I've never been there. And I come to you that you have gone there before and you know the route. And I'm like, bro, see, I'm trying to get to Ikeja. How do I get there? And then you tell me, okay, please bring out your pen and paper. You now tell me, okay, well, first, from this bus stop, go to this bus stop. Then once you get there, take a bus going to this other bus stop. Once you get there, take a bus going to this other bus stop. Now, in actual fact, what are you doing? You are giving me like a list of instructions to follow. And the thing is, if I follow the instruction, I'll end up at Ikeja. But if I don't follow it, now only God will know where I'll end up at. But the whole idea there is that step by step, those lists, those instructions you are giving to the person is what we refer to as an algorithm. Okay, it's not just programming related. This thing is everywhere. All right, let's take some of these inventors for example. Now, let's say today now I sleep and I sleep at night and I just think of an idea to make a kind of a new invention. Okay, so during my sleep I just thought about an idea on how to make an invention. Wow, and I discovered, wow, this thing does not exist too, so I can make it. Now I wake up tomorrow and later I'm able to make the invention. And then maybe during the process of making that invention, I'm putting down the steps in making it. All the materials I use, how to mix the material, all the things I did. Now, that step that I'm putting down, funny thing is, if I give that jotter to somebody else, or that note where I wrote all the steps down, and the person follows the instruction to the letter, the person will be able to make that same device I made, that invention. Why? Because he has access to the algorithm or the instruction on how to make that thing. Okay, so that's just basically what an algorithm is. A step-by-step instruction followed to solve a particular problem or a given task. For example, let me take this last example before we kind of round this up. Let's say, for example, for those of us when we were young then and our parents used to send us message. So take for example, your mom just comes back from the market and she says, James, please go to my room. Okay, on the bed you will see a black bag. Okay, please pick the black bag. Okay, now let me write it out so that we can follow it. Can we all see my screen, please? Can we all see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, good. So let's write down these instructions. Let's say, for example, your mom or a woman talking to her child now. She said, James, please go to my room. Now, I want to write out the instructions, okay? So the first instruction is, go to my room. And she says, when you get there, okay, on the bed, there is a black bag. Take the black bag and check inside for a red purse. Okay, so the first instruction there was go to the room. The second instruction was look for a black bag on the bed. And then the third instruction was look for Or let's just say get the red purse, or let's say wallet this time around. Get the red wallet from the bag. Then maybe she needed money from the wallet. So, or let's just say bring the wallet. So bring the wallet. So if we look at this now, this is a simple instruction given by maybe a mother to her child or anybody. And the instruction is, please go to my room and check the bed and look for a black bag. Inside the black bag, there's a red wallet. Please bring the red wallet. Now, although the way the woman said it, she really did not break it down. But if you think about it well, if you listen to the instruction well, you will discover that there are step-by-step instructions encoded in that sentence she just made. The first instruction is go to my room. That is the first thing. The second instruction is look for a black bag on the bed. The third instruction is get a red wallet from the black bag and then bring the wallet. Now, all of these instructions like this, we can refer to these instructions as an algorithm. Okay? It's just a step-by-step instruction or process or procedure that you follow to solve a given problem. Now, there is a problem here, and the problem is that the woman wants her red bag, her red wallet. Okay? And now she has given an instruction to somebody on how to get the wallet and bring it to her. Now, one thing you will note about this instruction, just like every other algorithm, is that if you follow it to the letter, you'll be able to solve the problem. Right? If the kid or whoever gets this instruction follows every instruction there to the letter, it will be able to get the wallet. But what happens if instead of going to the room to get the bag, the person went to the sitting room or the kitchen? At first, now the person has failed the very first instruction there, because if you go to the kitchen, the black bag is not there. Or let's say hopefully the person gets to the room, but instead of checking the bed for a for a black bag, the person is checking the drawers. That's when you hear, "Mommy, I did not see it." Why would you see it? You did not follow the simple instruction. Alright? So an algorithm is nothing but a step-by-step instruction that is followed to solve a given problem. That is all an algorithm is. Nothing more than that, nothing less than that. Now, you might now ask, how does that concern us as developers? What concern us concern algorithm, since it has nothing to do with us? Well, it's not that it does not have anything to do with us. It has a lot to do with us as developers, because as a developer, what you will be doing day in and day out is solving problems. See, for now, for those of you still learning, if I'm to tell you the truth, although this is not a discouragement, okay, your development career is just starting. Okay, development is far more than just building UI and building, putting a button, coloring the button. Okay, now you will get to a point where you will start writing real logic. Okay, you will start writing problems to solve, you will start writing code to solve a problem. For example, let's say we are given a simple problem, right? And the instruction is, please write a program or a JavaScript program to find the area of a triangle. We are going to do that right now. That's going to be the code we write first before we leave algorithm. So the challenge is this: write a JavaScript program to find the area of a triangle. Now, as a developer, the worst thing you would ever do, or the most annoying thing you can do to frustrate yourself, is you don't understand the problem you are trying to solve, and you don't want to start writing the code to solve it. Are we flowing? Do you get what I mean by that? All right, you don't understand the problem you want to solve, and then you want to solve the problem. It's like you are sick, you don't even know what is wrong with you, and you are saying, please go and buy me malaria medicine, or go get me paracetamol. You don't even know what is wrong with you, so how do you want to fix a problem you don't know? And that is why, as a developer, whenever you are given a challenge or a problem, the first thing you do is try to understand the problem. It's just like a client comes to you now and say, please, I need you to build a website for me. What will you do? Will you just tell the client, yes, no problem? Okay, somebody is saying you should please mute your mic. I think it's affecting the audio at our place. All right, thank you. So, as I was saying, as a developer, just imagine I approach you now, okay, and I say, please, Mr. Ajayi, I will need you to build a website for me. And immediately you say, yes, no problem, I will do it. And it's 500,000 naira. It will be ready in 5 days or in 3 weeks. As in, the first thing I'll ask you is everything okay? Because you've not even had the kind of website I want to build. Are we together on that? You've not even had the kind of website I want to build, the functionalities I need on the website. You don't even understand anything about what I want. All you had is, I want to build a website and you're already charging me. Now, the thing there is this. When somebody comes to you for an app development or a website development, the first thing you do as a developer is ask them, what kind of site? Now, at the process of asking all those questions, what you are doing is you are trying to gather information that will help you when you are developing. That is all you are doing. You're trying to gather information so that you know, okay, how to write the code, the best approach to use, and things like that. So, as a developer, and that's why for those of us, how many of us studied computer science here? Anybody here? Computer science, or you are currently studying it? Okay, one person. Any other person? Okay, 2. Now, for those of you who did not study, it's not a big deal, okay? Forget that even we will study, difference no day. So you're not missing anything, all right? But if you studied, it's a plus. What I'm getting to, for those of you who studied computer science, probably I've forgotten the name of the course, maybe in different school it might be different, but you remember there is a particular course that they taught us, the software development process. And you will discover, if I go to Google, let's actually go to Google, we can search it online. Okay, so let's search for software development process. All right. Then let me look for something. Oh, not process, it should be life cycle. Software development, life cycle. All right, great. That's what I wanted. Now, okay, come on. Okay, good. Look at this. These are just the basic software development life cycle. We are not going to go through all of them. I just wanted you to see the first one. Did you see the first thing that was stated here is what? Planning. Planning. Now, according to the discussion here, the planning phase will determine project goals and establish a high-level plan for the intended project. Planning is by definition a fundamental and critical organization phase. The 3 activities involved in planning are the following: identification of the system for development, so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to get to here is that even in software development, the number one thing there is for you to plan. You need to plan, okay, how do I do this? What are the requirements? And so on and so forth. Now, once you know the requirements, the next thing you try to do is, when you're writing the logic of the code, is you try now to now decide how you write the logic. And one thing that would always help you when making that decision is algorithms, writing algorithms. Although some of us that are a bit experienced, with the more experience you get, the less you try to think of some problems. Because one thing as a developer, one thing that can make your life easy is, or one thing that generally makes our life easy is, with the more experience you get, the easier you will find it to solve some problem. At least the problem you've solved yesterday will not take you hours to solve again today. But the whole idea of an algorithm is this: whenever you are faced with a challenge or a problem that you are supposed to solve, the first thing you want to do is, you first of all think, don't just write code. I don't know if any of you have seen or had anybody or any developer telling you that coding is 70% thinking and 30% writing of code. You have to actually think first. okay, how do I do this? Right? So let's take the example I brought up earlier. Let's try to write a program that can find the area of a triangle. Now, like I told you, if you don't know how to solve the problem, writing the code will be very impossible. So the first thing you want to do is you ask yourself, okay, if you want to find the area of a triangle, what do I do on a normal stance? Okay, now, I think in maths, what's the formula for finding the area of a triangle? Is it 1/2 times length times breadth? Is that correct?
Length times breadth.
Oh, so okay, so no, is it triangle or rectangle?
Triangle. It's triangle.
For triangle, it should be 1/2. It's rectangle that is length times breadth. Well, it's good we are here. This is part of the learning phase. This is how you make research whenever you want to solve a problem that you don't know how to solve. So let's imagine we don't even know the formula. I don't know it. I don't know if it's length times breadth. I don't know if it's 1/2 times length times breadth. We don't know. We have Google there. So simple. The first thing we can do is I can just go to Google and say area of a triangle. Boom. Google is telling us, wow, the formula is area is equals to 1/2 times breadth times height. That is perfect. We know that now. So we know this is the formula. Let's copy this formula. Okay, let's copy it and paste it here. Now, in this case now, we already know that for you to get the area of a triangle, right now what we are doing is making research. We are actually planning ahead so that when we start writing the code, it will be easy. This is the planning stage we are doing right now. Okay, fine. The formula for finding an area of a triangle is 1/2 times breadth times height. Okay, can we now write an algorithm for this? Let's see. Okay, so if I am to solve the area of a triangle now, I'll be needing...
I think it's not base and height.
Yeah, oh, it's not breadth, it's base. Sorry. Sometimes I mix them up. It's base, not breadth. I've been saying breadth times height. All right, it's base times height, please. All right, so now we know that this is the formula. But the question is, if I tell you now that, please, can you help me find the area of a triangle? The first question you might ask is, what will be the base of the triangle and what will be the height, right? Because if you don't know the base and height, you can't solve it. Are we together on that? Okay, all minds are mute. Okay, you guys can hear me, right?
Yes,
right.
I can.
All right. So, first of all, we know that to find the area of a triangle right now, we need the base and we need the height. So, if we are to write an algorithm to find the area of a triangle, the first thing we might say is, okay, in order to find the area of a triangle, we need the base and height. So, the first thing you want to do is ask for the base and height, right? Please give me the base and give me the height. So, the first step, let's call this step 1, is we want to get the base. Then step 2, we want to get the height. And then step 3, we want to, now in order to actually find the area now, we need to multiply the base, the height with 1/2. So step 3 now, we can say something like multiply. I want to break this down, okay? Let's first multiply base and height together. So step 3 now, we can say multiply base and height. And then step 4, after multiplying base times height, we can now multiply it by 1/2. So in this step, let's say multiply base and height and save it to results. So what we are trying to say is get the base and the height and save the result of base times height, save it to this variable called result here. Well, not a variable, we are just saying save it in a place called result. Now in step 4 now, we can now say multiply results, multiply 1 all over 2 and result, or we can say by results. And then step 5, print results. Now, if you look at this now, I know some of you might be wondering, wow, do we have to write it this exact way? The thing with algorithm is you can write it anyhow it comes to you. Okay, this same algorithm I'm writing now, I can write it another time and write it a different way. But the whole idea behind it is that at worst, your algorithm should be able to solve the problem that you were given. Okay, that is the whole idea of an algorithm, to be able to solve a problem. So as long as your algorithm is able to solve a problem, you've got to solve the problem or the task or the challenge you were given, you are good to go. So in this case right now, let's test out this algorithm. Okay, we have to say, we say multiply 1 times 2 by result and let's save it in area. And then here we'll print area. So let's go over this algorithm. Let's test it to see if it can actually solve a problem. Okay, so let's see if it can solve the problem it was written to solve. If you remember, we wrote this algorithm to solve, to find the area of a rectangle, right? That's what's of a triangle. So let's see if it will actually work. So let's say we want to try out with this area. Let's say we have a base of 5 and a height of 10. These are the two figures. So let's try out this algorithm now. Okay, so the first thing it's saying is, the first thing we want to do is get the base. So let's go ahead and get the base. What's the base here? We are saying 5. We say 5. The second step is saying get the height. Okay, what's our height? 10. So we are saying 10 there. The third step is saying multiply base and height and save it to result. So base times height now, which is 5 times 10, will give us, that should be 50, right? So we have 50 as our result. So our result now is equals to 50. Line 4 now is saying multiply 1 by times over 2 by the result. And I guess this should be 25. When you do 1 over 2 times 50, this should be 25. And then the last option now is saying print area, which is this area. So we can come down here and print 25. Now, if you look at this now, what we have just done, although nothing is special about it, but you will know that it has made us understand how to find the area of a triangle now. That is, this algorithm we have written, it has made us understand how to find the area of a triangle. And the good thing about an algorithm is, if we give this algorithm to anybody now, okay, anybody at all, let's get rid of all of this. If we give this algorithm to anybody and the person reads it, the person should be able to use this algorithm to find the area of a rectangle. Triangle, sorry. Now that we are done with the algorithm, so like I said, an algorithm, there is nothing special with how you write it. You can use your own words. In fact, it's because I'm trying to explain to you, and I want you guys to understand I'm writing this algorithm this way. These days, some of my algorithm, I even write it like code. It's totally up to you, the language you want to use to write your algorithm. You can use Hausa, you can use Igbo, you can use Spanish, English, any language at all, because you are not running it, it's not code. It's just to help you understand how to solve the problem. But most of us just use English. It's a general language. If you write an algorithm and I can't even understand the language you used in it, so why did you even bother writing it in the first place? So the whole idea of an algorithm is just to list out the process to follow to solve a problem. Nothing more than that. All right, now that we are done with that, we've written that algorithm. Let's go ahead now and write the JavaScript program to find the area of a triangle. And you will see how easy it will be for us right now, because we already know what and what to do. Okay, we already know what and what to do. So in JavaScript now, the first step of this algorithm says get the base. Get the base. So we want to get the base and store it in a variable. So let's create a variable called var_base and set it equal to, the base of this should be 5 because we are testing with 5. So we'll put 5. That is the base. So we are done with step 1. Step 2 now is saying get the height. Okay, no problem. We'll do another var base. Sorry, this case will be height equal to 10. Step 3 is saying multiply base and height and save it to results. So we can create a variable called var results, set it equal to base times height. And then that is step 3. Step 4 is saying multiply 1 all over 2 by result and save it to area. So we can say var area is equals to 1 all over 2 times result. And the final step is saying print area. Well, in JavaScript for now, when we are printing, we use console.log. So we can say console.log area. Save this. Let's check our browser and see if this actually does what it should do for us. Let me close this, refresh. Did you see? Which answer did we get? 25. Is this not the same 25 we got when we used our algorithm alone? Same 25. So you would say that because we have this algorithm now, it was very easy to write our program. That is just what an algorithm is. It is nothing but a step-by-step instruction that you follow to solve a particular problem. Nothing more than that, nothing less than that. And that is why as a developer, like I said, most of the time, there are some challenges you will meet. You can't even write code because you will be confused on how do I solve it. Now, the approach I follow to solve it mostly is whenever I meet a challenge that I can't solve, what I do is simple. I just leave my system. Sometimes if I'll off my system for 2-3 days, I'll be thinking, okay, how do I do this? What's the first thing I do? What's the second thing I do? In fact, just keep this at the back of your mind. Whenever you are trying to write a piece of code and it's not working out, just know that it is because you yourself, you don't even understand how the thing should be done. So the first thing you want to do is try to understand first, okay, if I'm trying to find the area of a triangle or a rectangle, normally without code, without programming, how would I do it? So that's the first thing you want to ask yourself. If I am to solve this problem, how would I do it without writing code? Coding is just one part of programming. Thinking is another part. But please, one thing I want you to keep at the back of your mind, okay? Don't think, one thing you should always get off your mind is, don't think you're not smart enough for programming. Forget that one. Nobody's smart. All of us we just do everything as they go. Nobody's smart. Okay, nobody is smart enough for anything. Most of us doing this, or those people still doing it, is because of dedication and continuous practice. That's why you see them there. So take that off. Why I'm saying this is you might need some code where you say you will ask yourself if programming are for you. Okay? It happens. It's part of the process. Don't get frustrated over that. In fact, get frustrated, but don't give up because of that. All right? So what I'm trying to get to is this. An algorithm is nothing but a step-by-step instruction you follow to solve a problem. It is nothing more than that. It is nothing less than that. All right? That is what an algorithm is. Now, after this class, what I would advise you to do is you can go online, make search for videos or even articles on algorithm to help you understand well. But the only thing you should take away here is an algorithm is not code. It is not actual code. Okay? It's just like an instruction. Just take it like somebody is giving you a manual on how to write a particular code to do something. That is what an algorithm is. Do we understand that? If you've got a question, please wave your hand before we move on now. Or any contribution. All right. You can speak, please. Heritage, you can unmute your mic. Your mic is currently mute.
I was just thinking that is it possible to where we put results, we save the value of the area in the result, will it still run? It means that
of course, you can do that. Yes, I understand. You are saying if instead of this result here, we could have just said area throughout, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. But the thing is, we wrote this program following this algorithm. Are we together? So most of the times, your code, this code you are writing here is just following the algorithm. Nothing more than that, nothing less than that. Okay. Sometimes we could, if as an experienced developer, I can do all of these things we are doing in a single line and it will still work. I could have done it even without creating variables and it will still work. But the bottom line there is we are just trying to understand the concept of algorithm. That's why it's like that. All right, Benedita, you can speak. Unmute your mic and so we can hear you. Hello, your hand is currently up. Or is that a mistake? All right, probably our network. When she's ready, whenever you're ready, please just you can ask your questions or anything you want to ask. All right. All right. Since we are done with that now, let's go ahead and come back to what we wanted to do. All right. Let's come back to what we wanted to do, which is we wanted to talk about objects and then build our to-do app. And what's the time? 11:56. Okay, we still got about 45 to 50 minutes. We still have time to do that. Now, this to-do app where I'm going to be building, okay, I won't be doing too much styling or too much CS. All right, who has a question?
I have a question.
All right.
This thing you run on your is it Chrome or EJ? How did it come up?
Can't it come up where? Come again, please.
This, you got the results, that 25, you got it on your browser.
Yes.
And most times we do get the ones I've been seeing because this is my
first time.
too.
Okay.
The ones I've been seeing them on. Like, the first time, I don't know anything about algorithm, but the way you explain them, I'm getting to understand.
Okay.
What I'm saying, because I've seen, like the ones she taught us yesterday.
Yes.
The results were seeing them on the terminal instead of on the browser. So I'm asking, can't it also, is it that there are some results that you can't get on your terminal if you go to your browser? Or
No.
you want to check it on your browser?
Okay. Thank you for asking that. Now, the thing is, whenever you are working in JavaScript, there are a lot of ways to output data from your code. There are a lot of ways. I think we explained it in the first class. There are a lot of ways. Console.log is one. When you do console.log, it will show in this console. And to get to this console, what you do is right-click, inspect, and then come to console. You will see the result. So whenever you do console.log, it will always log to this console. Another way is using alerts. How many of us remember alerts? I think we did it in the very first class. So another way is using alert. When you use alert, you will get this pop-up. You can see we get this pop-up that says 25 there. Okay. Another way is using what we call document.write. If I save this one, to write it in this white space we are seeing. Let me save it so you can see. You see, it wrote the 25 in this white space. So there are different ways to show output in the program. In fact, when you are more experienced, it's because we are developers that I'm using the console. If you are building app for your users, you will not be using console because you don't expect them to come and right click to see it. And you will probably be printing to this white area, this body of this page here. But mostly you will not be using documents.write. You'll be using DOM manipulation, which we will look at partially today. But it's because we are coding and I don't want to be doing something too complex. I'm just using console.write. Okay, there are different ways you can output data from your app. Okay, the same way there are different ways you can collect data into your app. For now, I'm just using console.log because it's easier for me. And since we are coding and all of us here are developers, no need to be doing things that are too complex. Okay, do you understand that? Daniel, do you understand that?
Yes, I do. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
All right, no problem. I understand that some of you are beginners, you've not done that before, but let's see how things go. If things go well, I currently have a C# class I'm taking, so I can't take a full-time JavaScript class right now. But if things go well, hopefully, if not December or January, I might dedicate the first 3 or 4 months of next year to, we will start from the bare basis, okay? But that, it depends on my schedule, but I'm working towards that, okay? So we would have more time to talk more on things like that. But for now, let's just try to move along here. All right. Now that we have talked about that, let's go ahead and talk about objects. All right, Benedita, your hand is up again. Please, you can speak.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Alright, my network is really disturbing here. I want to know if this class is being recorded.
If there's still another class.
Okay, thank you.
Huh?
So I can listen to it.
Yeah, I'm recording it.
And then so I can listen to this one again. I'm missing some.
Yeah, okay, I'm recording it. Yes, I'm recording it. It's being recorded.
When will it be available? Today, right?
Hopefully, after the class, I'll do a little bit of editing on it and I'll post it online. After the class, I'll do a little bit of editing on it and I'll post it online. Yeah, so it should be available before 6 this evening. Okay, and even that aside, I'm even working on all of the topics we are discussing here. I'm working on YouTube videos for all of them. So before Saturday, there will be different YouTube video for all of the topics we have talked about, from variables to functions to arrays to objects, and even maybe I'll make one on algorithm. So that's about 4 videos that I'm currently working on. So although this recording will be available, but those other ones would also be available. Somebody else is raising a hand. You can speak.
On the WhatsApp group for us.
You said what? Oluchi, please, you can speak. You can speak, Oluchi.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, sorry, like I'm trying to take us back, but it's just what you finished solving, calculating the area of a triangle.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm kind of very new, so I was trying to follow exactly what you were doing from my own end.
Okay.
And I've put in everything just the way you did, but my output, nothing is really coming up when I try to go to lifestyle. So I don't know if there's something I'm doing wrong.
Are you using document.write or console.log?
Okay, my question is, I don't know where
just exactly how your code. I just wrote the same thing.
Okay, if that's the case, do you have your terminal, this developers console open?
I'm still.
How do I get to that? I don't know. Once I just finish writing it, I just go live to see if you can take me to the web page.
Okay, I think I understand where your issue is coming from. It's running the app that is actually the issue. What you can do is, do you have your HTML file? Do you have an HTML file?
No, I don't.
It won't work. It won't work.
Okay, so I need to create or open.
Yes, I have an HTML file. You know, JavaScript runs on the browser, but you can, in order for you to make it run, you have to attach it to an HTML file so the browser can load it.
Okay.
So I have an HTML file called index.html before app.js. So in the HTML file, I'm linking to that app.js there. All right.
Okay, so is it just to open it? Do you need to write anything to link it, or how?
Yes, I have this script tag that is actually doing the linking. I have the script tag that is actually doing the linking. So this script tag source here is telling it to look for app.js, and it will grab it. So whenever the HTML page loads, it will load the JavaScript file with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. If that is kind of confusing, I think I have. If you watch any of my YouTube videos online, maybe the one on building a responsive navigation bar, I think in most of them I explained how to do this linking. I think any of my video online where I talked about using JavaScript, I explained the linking. So you can actually use that. Or maybe I think in one of them that I'm also making currently, the discussion is still there. All right. So because of time, and I don't want to keep others waiting. Okay.
Okay, no problem. I guess I'll just follow up.
All right. Maybe I would, after the class, what I would do is I would drop some videos on the group that talks about something like that. But what we are just basically doing is this. But then this time I'm coming, I would answer you. What we are basically doing is this. Have an HTML file. Okay, create an HTML file. Just make sure you have this basic template. The head tag, the HTML tag itself, the body tag, that's all. Then inside the body tag, open a script tag. Okay, let me redo the linking again. Just quickly follow under 2 minutes. Let's do that together. So in case of those other people that don't know how to link to, we are doing it together now. So what you want to have is have an index.html file and have your app.js file. You can name it anything you like, but I'm naming this app.js. Now, in your index.html file, what you want to do is inside the body tag, okay, you want to open the script tag. Once you have the script tag open, you know, normally for those of you that were in the first class, in the last class, I told you can write JavaScript here too, right? So you can come here and even do your alerts or anything you want to do. But me, I like what they call separation of concern. I don't like mixing HTML and JavaScript to go together. So because of that, I want to use this external JavaScript file. So to do that, you still open a script tag, but then in the opening script tag, you want to use an attribute called source, src. Set it equal, so src, set it equal to, inside this source now, you want to set it equal to the name of this, your app.js. Okay, so since I have this app.js here, I can just say app dot, and Visual Studio Code will even tell you, help you complete the name. Once you do that, just say that's all. Now, whenever this HTML page loads now, it will automatically grab the JavaScript file with it. It's more like, bros, I'm going, come here, follow me. That's all. Two of them now will be working together. All right? Moluchi, is that clear enough?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
All right. Now, okay, Benedita, you want to speak? Your hand is up. Please unmute your mic and speak before we move on. And Kenny also wants to speak. Kenny, please, let's hear you. You can unmute your mic and speak. Hello, Kenny or Benedita. Hello, Kenny. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I wanted to reply everything because I know that I can access my console using the Google Chrome test mode, right?
Yes.
Am I not correct?
Yes, you are correct.
So, yeah, that was just
Okay. So, Oluchi, okay, please, you can, Kenny, please, thank you so much. You can help us mute your mic. All right, thanks. So, Oluchi, what she's saying is, you also asked the question of how to access the console, the developer's console. To do that, all you need to do is anywhere on your browser, if you are on any site at all, as long as that site is loaded on your browser, just right-click on your mouse, look for this option that says Inspect. Once you click on it, mostly by default, it might not take you to the console. Let me expand this page. You see, you have a lot of options. You have welcome, you have elements, you have console, you have source, you have network. What you want to look for is this console. So click on this console tab. It will show you the console. Once this tab is open, anytime you do console.log in JavaScript, it will show up here. All right, so this is where it will show up. So that's what she wanted to clarify and help you out with. All right. So with that being said, Benedicta, you have a question. You can raise your hand. You can speak. Please unmute your mic and speak so we can move on. All right. I guess her hand is just raised. All right. So we are good to go. Let's continue now. So we want to actually start working on the To-Do app. I know we've not talked about objects, but I'll talk about it when we start building the app. So to make this simple, what I will do is, let me just go ahead. Can I delete? Okay, instead of deleting, let's comment in case some of you are still writing that. All right. So now, to build this To-Do app, like we have discussed earlier, okay, that the most important thing when you want to work on an app is not just to come and start writing code. Okay, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is you need to understand what you want to do. Okay, the app you want to build, how is it going to work? You understand? So that is very important. So for this our case now, which To-Do app do we want to build? Well, the To-Do app we want to build is just a simple application that I think I have a version online those days when I was still learning. Let me see if I can still look for them online. If I go to, do I still have to do? I don't think I have. Let me see if I can use any app. Oops, this one is too complicated. Let me go to my Netlify account. Just give me a minute to let me try to bring up my Netlify. If I have a To-Do app, it should be hosted there. So we have a Netlify. Get started. And for those of you who don't know what Netlify is, it's actually a hosting platform where you can host your websites for free. So all those your personal projects you are building and you don't have money to go and buy hosting plan or to buy domain, you can host for free here. I have a video on that on my YouTube channel actually on how to host on Netlify for free. So those of you that are working on your portfolios or you are building a simple app and you want to show off, you know, like say you learn programming, not in the online where you get. So even if it's a simple app you build, it's very good you learn how to start moving your code online as early as possible. You can actually use Netlify for that. So let me see if I have any To-Do app. Oops, I don't think I do. I think I deleted all the To-Do apps I have. Ouch, that's bad. All right, I don't have any To-Do app online. But let me just try to explain what the app will be doing. The idea is this: we just want to have a simple app that if the user opens the app, okay, we'll give them a text box where they can write. Let me see, where is this? Why is this not coming up? Let me rerun the app, please. Let me rerun this. Copy that. Paste it here. All right, good. So what we just want to have is a simple app that when the user comes here, they will be able to write their plans for the day. Maybe they want to say, okay, I will go to the market. I want to go to the market today. I want to maybe go to the gym. I want to go and buy this. So it's like a list, you know, for the ladies, all of us that used to keep jotter or note of what we want to do. That's what the app is all about. So it's a simple To-Do app. So the idea is we want to have an interface where we have an input form here, an input element here. But, you know, in order for you, how many of us have ever used an input element before in HTML? Just wave your hand. Or no, instead of waving your hand, those of you that have not, wave your hand. You've never used input before in HTML. That thing that you can use to collect information from your user. Wave your hand, let me know. All right, I think everyone has done. Okay. So a few of you, well, we would actually be using it today. So the idea is this: we have an input element here, okay, like a form element, so that the user can enter what they want to enter. And then when they will have a button that will say add. Once they click on the button, okay, we'll add it to a list of to-do that will show here. All right. So to get started in our HTML, like I said, I will try as much as possible to avoid CSS code. Okay, I want to write as little CSS as possible because I don't want us to focus on too many things at a time. So to start this, instead of an H1, let's go with an H2. I feel H1 is too big. Let's go with an H2. And then under this, we want to make an input element. So a very simple input element. So in HTML, to make an input element, you use the input tag. Okay, you just say input. Now, I'm not going to be using shortcuts because I want the rest of you that have not used it before to be able to follow along. Normally, I'll use shortcuts to make this faster. So to open an input tag, you just open a tag, type in input, and close it. Okay, now an input tag is a self-closing tag, just like your HTML tag, which means you don't have to have opening input tag and closing input tag. You don't have to have this. Okay, you don't need opening and closing. It's a self-closing tag, which means it closes by itself like this. This is what we refer to as a self-closing tag. For those of you that have displayed an image before. All right, good. Now that we have these inputs, if I save this, you will notice, oops, we have two, it should be one. Why are we having two? Blah, blah. Oh, I have, oops, this here points to input. Our body element points to input. All right, good. So we have this input tag. Do you see what this gives us? Look at this thing now, we can type inside. That's what we get. You see, we can type inside. So once we have that, now when you're having an input tag, it's very important you tell it the type of input tag you want. For example, by default, when you have an input tag like this, it will allow the user to enter text and numbers together or special characters. But if you want an input tag that only accepts number, you can use the type attribute and change it to number. Immediately I do this now, you will notice that if you can hear my keyboard, can you guys hear my keyboard? If you can hear my keyboard, you will notice I'm typing, but nothing is coming up. That's because I'm pressing letters. We have set this input type to only accept number, which means it's only when I type a number, you see, that it will show. But that will not be our focus for this class. We just want it to accept anything the user typing. So we change it to test. Now, by default, this is always test. So even if you don't enter test, okay, even if I get rid of this, it is test by default. So we'll leave it as test. Another thing I want to do to this input tag is give it a unique ID so I can grab it in JavaScript because we'll be doing that later. So we'll give this an ID of, let's call this user input. Okay, because we'll be using it to collect the user input. So we'll give it the ID of user input. Now that we are done with that, we need a button. Okay, we need a button. The button that the user will click once they are done entering. So I will make a button tag here. All right, and in the button tag, let me collapse this so we can zoom in a bit more. All right, good. So in the button tag, I just want to have a simple text that say add. That's all that will be in that button. You can see we have the button here. It will just simply say add, nothing more than that, nothing less than that. Now, like I said, I will not spend time doing the CSS for this because I want us to focus on JavaScript. Because as a full stack developer, that is, I do both front end and back end. This thing is always already looking awful to me. I don't want to believe I'm the one doing this, but I just have to. So we won't be doing CSS. Let's just go with pure HTML. All right, good. So we have the add button. So the idea is this, that whenever the user enters something here and they click on add, we want to show a list of all the to-dos that the user have entered. So to get this started, to actually list our to-do, I will use a UL tag. Okay, for those of you that have used the UL tags before, UL stands for ordered list. Okay, ordered list. So what we want to do, or instead of ordered list, let's use unordered. We don't need it to be numbered. And inside of here, let's just put some sample to do. So let's say the first thing we want to do when we wake up is wash plates. The next one is cook Indomie, or is it noodles? I still call it Indomie, I know, I'm a kid. Alright? So you can see this now. So in our browser right now, we have wash plates, cook Indomie. Alright, oh, this is the ordered list. It should have been UL. Sorry about that. Good. So we have wash plates, cook Indomie. So what we want to do now, the major thing we want to do is when the user gets to this page, we want them to be able to write something in this text box here. For example, maybe go to the market. And then when they click on add, okay, we want to be able to add this text they have written here to this thing here. So it will come and form the third one. So once they click add, it should come and enter here. That's what we want to do. All right. Now, on the part of HTML, I think we are partially done with what we need. Okay. Let's give this URL an ID. And let's call this ID to do container. That is the ID that contains all of our to do. So we'll call it to do container and save that. Right? Now, once we have this saved, okay, we want the JavaScript now is needed. Okay, HTML is done with its work. You can't do more than this. We can't use HTML to activate this button or anything like that. This is where JavaScript comes in. So let's go to JavaScript. All right, I will delete all of this old code I have. I want to have everything afresh. Now, when you are in JavaScript, for those of you who are new to JavaScript or maybe DOM manipulation, there's this topic that is called DOM, which stands for Document Object Model. Now, I would have liked to bring an image up, but if I bring it up, the explanation will be too long. So to keep it short, just think of the DOM as a special thing that is given to you by JavaScript for you to be able to manipulate HTML. Okay, for those of you who have taken a crash course on HTML and CSS, I'm very sure your instructor told you that 3 of them play different parts. Okay, we use HTML for structure. And then we use JavaScript, okay, CSS next, for styling. So CSS does the styling for us. And then we use JavaScript to add functionality, or you can say behavior. Am I spelling that wrong? All right. So we use JavaScript to add behavior. It should be OI, whatever. All right. So this is the work of these 3 things. HTML, for those of us, if you remember back then in days in biology, when they were teaching us about skeleton, they will tell you that skeleton is the bony framework of the body that gives the body support, rigidity, and so on and so forth. So in web development, HTML is the skeleton there. CSS is the skin or the clothes that beautifies the body. JavaScript is the behavior. For example, as a human being now, you can move your hand, you can walk around. If you want your browser to have behavior, you use JavaScript. Now, when coming back to the DOM now is that thing that JavaScript or the developers of JavaScript or the browser have given to us as developers to be able to manipulate HTML. So we can use JavaScript to manipulate HTML, but we do that using this thing that is called the DOM. Because in actual fact, JavaScript and HTML don't have any relationship with each other. They are 2 different things. But because of the DOM right here, we can manipulate HTML. For example, I can use JavaScript to make an element to disappear. I can use JavaScript to put an element that is not there before. I can use JavaScript to change an element. So take JavaScript to be like something you can use to manipulate or play around with your HTML. and that is what it is. And we do that using this thing called the DOM, Document Object Model. All right. Ouch. Okay, now that that is stated out, all right, now let's see what we do. Now, whenever you want to use JavaScript to manipulate your DOM, hello, can you guys hear me? I think the network just tripped off. Hello, can you guys hear me? Someone should speak if you're... Oops, oh, sorry. Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, you can hear you.
All right, great. So in order to use JavaScript to manipulate the DOM is actually a very broad topic, but I'll just give you the pointers to using the DOM. Whenever you want to use JavaScript to play with HTML elements, it's a two-step process. The first step is you need to grab that HTML element. Okay? It's like when you want to give somebody something in a crowd. What's the first thing you do? You have to separate or call the person out of the crowd and tell him, you come. If not, if you just say, hey, somebody take money, people go rush you. So that's the first thing we do with JavaScript. The first thing is you grab the HTML element you want to style. Because if you look at this page now, we have a lot of HTML elements. We have this H2, we have this one, we have this one, we have this one. Now, the first element I want to grab is this element, this input element here. I want to grab it so that whenever the user is done typing something there, I can get what is inside. All right? So to do that, to grab an element, I will create a variable because I want to store the element in the variable. You can do that. So I'll say const. I'll be using a const here. You can use var, but I'll use const because I don't expect the element to change. Now, this input element, we gave it an ID, right? We gave it an ID of user input. So let's call the name user input. So that's the name of the variable. I'll set it equal to, now I want to use JavaScript and DOM to grab this element. Now, when you are using DOM, there are a lot of ways you can grab an element, different ways. Number one, you can grab an element by its tag name. So I can tell JavaScript to go and look for an element that have this tag name of input and bring the elements. That is one way. Another way you can grab an element is using an attribute. So you can use this type attribute, you can use this ID attribute. And that was why I actually put this ID here, because I plan on using the ID attribute. Now, whenever I'm grabbing an element, unless there is a reason, there is a reason for not using the ID attribute, I mostly use the ID attribute. And this is because, on this page now, I can have a lot of input elements. I can have a lot of buttons. I can have a lot of H2. For example, just imagine we have 2 LI here. So if I am grabbing by the tag name, sometimes it will return more than one. Sometimes it might return 10. But me, I know that I only have one input element, so I'm going to grab it by its ID. So in JavaScript, to grab an element, like I said, there are different ways. You can use the tag name. You can use the class name if it has a class. You can use the ID. Me, I'll be using the ID now. So to grab the element, I'm going to use the DOM. Okay, I'm going to use that DOM. To get access to the DOM, all I have to do is just say documents. That is the DOM there for you. Just say document. So now I can do document.getElement by ID. I think even that name itself is self-explanatory. I'm already telling the input element and the document, please grab me this element and I want to use the ID. Now, this getElement by ID is actually a function, and the function is expecting the ID. So I'll come back to my HTML and copy this ID here and paste it here. Boom, I've done that already. So let me try to reduce this font size. It's quite small. Let me increase that font size because I need you guys to see it as clear as possible. Let's do 15. All right, can you see these things clearly? I need you to see it as clear as possible. Can we all see them clearly? Somebody should speak, please.
Yes, yes.
All right, good.
Yes, yeah, can see.
All right, perfect. So we'll do const user input equals to document.getElement by ID. Don't forget, I told you the first step, okay, to manipulating an HTML element with JavaScript is to actually grab the element. We have done that step now. And how do we grab it? We use the DOM, which is document, and we are calling a method on it that is called getElement by ID. And we are passing in the ID of the element we want to get. Now, when the DOM grabs the element, we are collecting it and we are storing it in this variable called user input. Let me show you a magic trick. Let's open our console back and let's go to the console. Let's go to the console. Let me try to console.log user input and see the magic happens. This to 17. All right, good. So let me do a console.log. Let's log this our variable user input and save it. Boom. Did you see what I got on my console? I got that exact input tag. Let's go back to our HTML. You will notice that this input tag right here, this is it here, which means our DOM is doing its job. It's grabbing us the right elements. That is one thing. I want to also grab another element. The element I want to also grab is the button. Why? Because I want to be sure, I want to know when the user clicks on it, okay? I want to be aware when the user clicks on the button. So I need to grab it too. So I'll create a variable again. I'll call it btn, or you can call it button, but me, I'll just call it btn. I'll use the DOM again. So document.getElement. Let's grab it by its ID. Did we give it an ID? No, let's give it an ID of btn. Okay, now this ID can be anything. I'm sure most of you know what IDs are. They can be anything you call it. So I want to grab it by that ID, btn, and save that. Boom, you can see that. If you want to be sure it works again, do console.log, but me, I'm sure it works, but let's just see it out. btn. You can see it grabs the button for us. Okay, grab elements by ID. It grabs that button for us. Perfect. Now, which other thing do we want to grab? We also want to grab this UL. Don't forget, the flow is that whenever a user enters something here, they click on this button, we want to add the new thing they click to this UL here. All right. So I want to also grab the UL. I gave it an ID of container. So let's create another variable called const to do container. Okay, set it equal to documents dot get element by ID again, and this time the ID is to do container. All right, that's that there. Document dot get element by ID to do container. All right, great. Now we have grabbed all of the three elements we want. Now, the manipulation, the trick we want to use is this, okay? We want to be able, okay, to get whatever the user enters here when they click on this add button, okay? So whenever they click on add, we want to grab whatever they have entered here and add it to this web page. So, and add it to this list here. Now, so the class doesn't get a bit complicated, I'm going to avoid using objects. I know I said we'll talk on objects, but we can do this without objects, and I want you guys to understand the flow. So I would avoid using objects. But if I release a YouTube video on this, I might actually use objects, but I will explain objects there. So I might actually use objects, and might actually do a better styling than this. But for now, let's just pretend we don't know what objects are. All right, so the flow is this. I want to be able to grab whatever is on this input element whenever the user clicks on add. So let's do this first. So let's write a function, okay, that will grab whatever is on this input element and console.log it to the console. Okay, so to get the value of an input element, all you need to do is, watch this, I can actually come down. Let's write a function. Let's call this function get user input. We already know what functions are, so I won't be explaining that anymore. So get user input. Now, what this function will do, it will simply just console.log. For now, let's do console.log. It will simply do console.log. We want to get this user input. You know, this user input is this element we are getting. So I'll say user input dot, it has a property called value. Okay, there's this property called value. This value is like whatever the user enters is what is in value. All right. So now we have this function, and the function is console.logging the user input. But we need a way to invoke this function. You know, a function will not execute unless you call it. But the problem now is that I don't just want to come here and call this function like this. I don't want to do that. Because if we do it like this, every time the page loads, the function will run. We don't want that. We only want this function to run whenever the user clicks on this add button. Now, there are two ways we can fix this. The first way is, in our HTML, we can use this thing we call events. Okay, for those how many of us have treated events? Just wave your hand so I can know you've done events in HTML or JavaScript before. All right, one person. Okay. So in HTML, we can actually use what we call events. Now, I will write it and I will explain to you what it does. So don't panic if you've never used it before. So, okay, good. Now, this thing I wrote here is what we call, it's an attribute, but in HTML or JavaScript, this is what we refer to as an event handler. What we are trying to do is this. Take events, you know, when we talk about events in the ordinary world, it means maybe in Nigeria, when you hear event, it can be a party, it can be a graduation, it can be a wedding, it can be anything. If somebody say, I'm going to an event, right? But events in JavaScript or programming in general refers to things that happen. In web development, events refers to things that happen on this web page. For example, you know, when a user comes to this web page, there are a lot of things they can do. They can just move their mouse around, they can click a button, they can type on this place here. Now, whenever users are performing these events, all of these things are events. So, clicking on your page, moving their mouse, clicking on a button, copying something, typing on an input element, all of these are events. In fact, we have a lot of events in web development. Now, as a developer, you can react to these events, okay, using event handler. For example, I can tell JavaScript, okay, that when a user moves their mouse on top of this element here, okay, this to-do app, whenever they move their mouse on top of it, I want it to alert, what are you doing? Or I just want it to throw an alert, and I can do that. Let's quickly do that. You know, this is the H2, this H2 here, right? So I can come here and tie an event here. Let's call it, now there are different types of events. For clicking, we call that on click. We have events like on mouse over, that is if the mouse is on top of a particular thing. Let's use that here. So I'll use this event called on mouse. You see, there are a lot of them. In VS Code, once you type on, you will see all the events you have. If you don't know what events are, I advise you go read up on them after this class. Okay, so we can do on mouse over. Let me do on mouse over. No, not out. I mean over. So on mouse over, I want to alert. Let's just alert here. All right. Let's save this. Watch what happens. I want you to watch my mouse as I'm moving it. Watch what happens when I move it on top of this element, this to do. You know, we told it. Did you see that? watch again. Immediately my mouse goes on top of it. You see, it works. So that is an event handler there. So what we want to do now is we want to tie an event handler to this button. Okay, so whenever a user clicks on this button, okay, we want to invoke this function here. This, instead of calling this function like this, whenever a user clicks on this button, we want to invoke this function. All we need to do is copy the name of this function. Just do Ctrl+C. Come to your HTML back here and paste it here. Okay, just paste it here. Get user input and open and close. Save that. Oops, no, I don't think we need the open and close brackets. Okay, we do need it. And just save that. Now, watch what happens, okay, when I come here now and I enter something here and I click on this button. Did you see that? It shows on the console because we are console.logging it. Let me enter another thing. Did you see that? If I continue clicking on it, you see that more and more things are showing in the console. Perfect. We have that working for us. Now, the actual thing we want to do is we don't want to print this thing to the console. Okay, we want to add it to part of this to do. Okay, so whenever a user enters, go to the market, okay, should be A, and click on add. Instead of logging it to the console, we want to add it as part of this to-dos here. Well, how can we do that? Right? How can we do that? Well, when you are using the DOM, okay, the DOM gives you, now for those of you that have done HTML, you will know that in HTML there is this concept of father-child, parent, or parent-child relationship. What I mean is that most HTML elements can have children, and even sometimes they can have parents. Let me break this down. If you look at this structure of this our code right here, if we start from the head tag right here, you can see that the head tag is wrapping all of these elements here, which means that the head tag is like a parent to these other elements here. The same thing with our body tag. You can notice that the body tag, okay, is wrapping all of these other elements, which makes it a parent to all of them. Now, if you look at this our UL, you can see that it's wrapping all of our LI, which makes it a parent of our LI. Now, because of that, when we are using the DOM, okay, we have this parent-child relationship too. For example, I can tell a parent to delete one of its child or even to add a new child. And that is what we want to do for this UL here. Whenever this user adds a new item, okay, we want to tell it to add another child here. All right? So how do we do that? So if inside this our function, instead of calling this function get user input, let's call it add new to do. Okay, that makes more sense. We are not just getting the user input, we want to add a new to do. So let me change this here. Okay, if you are coding along, please, I just changed this function name. So we are changing it to add new to do. Add new to do. Perfect. So now in this function add new to do, instead of console.logging this to do to the terminal, we don't want to console.log, but let's leave that line of code for now. What we want to do is we want to grab this our to do container, which is, if you remember, this UL. Okay, we want to grab it and we want to tell it to add a new child to itself. Okay, we want to tell it, you know what, add a new child to yourself. So how do we do that? Well, it's simple. If you call this to do container, there is this function called append child. Append child, which means append a new child to yourself. Did you see that? Now, in order to append a child to it, we need to create the child first. Because if you notice, this UL has LI as its children. So if we want to append a child to this now, we need to create an LI tag to fix that. Kenny, your hand is raised. You want to say something? Hello, Kenny.
No, sorry, that was me.
All right. So, in order to append a new child here now, okay, In order to append a new child here now, we want to go ahead now. First of all, in JavaScript, we want to create this li. After creating it, we now append it. Now, how do we create an HTML element with JavaScript? Okay, it's actually funny, but we can do it. Okay, we can create an HTML element and it will look as if we wrote it in code here. So let's try to create it. So to create an HTML element, what we need to do first of all is, let's create a variable to hold the element. So let's say const. Benedita, you want to say something? Please unmute your mic and speak. Okay.
Yes, I want to say something. I want to ask a question.
All right.
I didn't understand something. I want to know. Is it that you use this
Come again.
to make a to-do app
Come again with your question, please.
or what?
Is it that what?
This DOM formula.
Yes.
Is it that you use it? The DOM formula.
Yes.
This DOM.
Yes, yes.
Do you use it to make to-do app?
No, the DOM is like.
I don't understand this to-do and then DOM. I want to.
Okay. Let me explain.
I want to know if you use the DOM to make the to-do app.
All right, I think I get where you are coming from. Let me explain it this way. We are not using the DOM to make the to-do app. We are just using the DOM to assist ourselves. We are the one, all of this code we are writing is the one doing all of the to-do. The job of the DOM is just to help you as a developer to be able to interact with HTML elements. You know, we are using JavaScript here, and this is our HTML code here. The job of the DOM is give you as a developer access to be able to manipulate your HTML. Take the DOM to be like a middleman between your JavaScript code and your HTML code. If you want to use JavaScript to talk to HTML, you need to talk to it through the DOM. That is what the DOM is. All right? So it's just like a middleman for us to be able to talk to our HTML code. All right. So back to what we were doing. Now, like I said, in order for us to create a new li element to append to this li, to create an li element, we actually have this method, okay? So let's create a variable. Let's say, call this variable var li. Let's just name it li, okay? Var li, set it equal to. Now, the DOM also gives us a function to create an element too. The name of that function is create elements. You can see that. So we are just saying, please document, we need you to create an element. And the next thing is you tell it which tag the element should be. In this case, just the li tag, because you can see li. So we need it to just create the li tag. So document the create element li. Then we'll go ahead and create the element. But don't forget that as part of creating the element, we want to put the text too. You know, if we are creating this element in HTML by ourselves, the first thing we'll do is we'll open an li tag, right? This is what we'll do. We'll open an li tag, put the text right up. For example, go to the market, then we close it again. This is probably what we would do if we were doing this by hand. But since we are not doing it by hand now, we are doing it with JavaScript. We have to do it here too. So this one here will create the tag, and it will create the opening tag and the closing tag. But we actually have to tell it the text. Okay, we have to tell it what to write inside the li tag. To do that, we can say li.inner text. Okay, once we do li.inner text, we can put the text here, go to the market. But if I write go to the market here, I'm actually hard coding this, and we don't want that. In fact, the text we want to set on this li is the text is whatever the user writes in this input element here. So we can get it from this our user input.value. So instead of hard coding it here, we will get it from our user input.value. Now we are done creating the li tag. We can now append it to its parent. In this case, we'll now call the to-do container.append. We'll pass this variable here, this li that we created, pass it there. Boom. Let's see if this works. All right. Let's see the magic happen. Now, so if we come back to this page now and I say go to the market, watch what happens when I click on this button. Did you see that? Go to the market has been added. Let's write another thing. Buy egg. Click on this button again. Buy egg has been added. Now, for you to understand this well, let me open the HTML code for this page. Whenever you are in the developer console, you can actually see the HTML code. To see it, let me expand this thing. To see it, it should be in not welcome. Where is that thing? It's not showing up. Element, yes. You want to look for this element tab. When we are in the element tab, let me zoom in. You can see we have the HTML tab itself, the HTML itself. We have the body, we have the HTML. So let's open the body. You will see that we can see all of our HTML code here. All right, what I want you to focus on is on this li, okay? Let's refresh the whole page. I want you to focus on this li. Let me see if I can occupy the whole screen. And let me move this to, let me move it to the left-hand side. So I can change the position, but don't worry about that. I want you to focus on this, our UL tag. You see that when the website loads, by default, we just have two elements there because that's what we have in our HTML code. If you check out our HTML code, it's two elements we have whenever the website loads. So we have those two. But I want you to watch out what happens when I type something here and I click on add. I've not clicked on it. Just watch what happens here when I click on add. Do you see? A new li was added. Click on it again. A new li was added. Click on it again. A new one. And as it is being added, it is showing on our web page. That is what the DOM can do for us. So we can actually use the DOM to manipulate HTML. All right, Kenny and Kenny has a question. Please speak. Okay, three of you. I'll take it one after the other. Kenny first. Hello, Kenny. All right. What about, Idon Guest, is that name correct?
Yes, yes. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I followed up to the point where at the function, we changed the function from get user input to add new to do.
Yes, I changed the name.
When you did this inner text, you now use user input dot value. Why?
Yes.
I think it's supposed to be add new to do dot value.
No. Okay, I would answer that. Thank you for the question. Stella, what about you? Let me get your question too.
Okay, my question is, what if we didn't put anything inside the input? Is this still going to append?
Okay, good. Thanks for the question. Now, Stella on is a bit faster, so I'll quickly answer that before I come back to Idon's question. So her question is, if we don't put anything, what would happen? The answer is yes, it will still append. Because you told the function, although we will prevent that, we will get there. But for now, it will still append. Let's refresh and watch. You see, currently, we do not add anything. Watch what happens when I click on add. You can see it's still appending. You can see, but it will be appending empty things because there is nothing here. All right? But we'll fix that. Now, to answer this other lady's question, now, you're saying, why are we not calling add to do here? When we are doing the inner test. Now, the answer to that is, add to do is the name of our function. Okay? It is being called whenever the user clicks on this button. But what we actually want to be the test, okay, what we want to be the test of the li that is added is whatever the user enters here. Okay? It is whatever the user enters here, we want to grab and show here, not the function. And to do that, Let me bring up my code again. Let's move this to the bottom again. All right. So as I was saying, what we want to show in this our list of to do is whatever the user enters here. And to do that, don't forget that in the beginning of our code, we've grabbed this input element already. We have it here. This is the code right here. Okay. Documents.getElements by ID user inputs. Now that will give us this input element. But when you grab this input element, in order to get access to whatever was written inside, you need to call a dot value on it. That's why we are saying user input dot value. So we are like saying, okay, we have created our li elements here, but we want the text of the li to be whatever the user enters in this input element, which is this user input in our code, and then we are putting dot value to it. So that's where that is coming from. Okay. Now, for Stella's concern, Kenny, you want to say something? You want to ask a question? Your hand is raised. Hello, Kenny. All right. I guess that's a no. All right. Now, for Stella's concern, she showed us a concern, and that's what we want to try to fix now. Her concern is this. If we just don't add anything and we click on add, you can see it's adding empty to do. Come on, we don't want that. How do we fix that? Well, what we can do is, before adding the to do, before this line that is adding the to do, we can check to make sure that this thing is not empty. If it is empty, we will not add it. If it is not, we will add it. How can we do that? As simple as using our if and else statements. I'm very sure most of you have noticed learned about the if and else statement in JavaScript. If you have not, I will just quickly do an overview, but I won't go too in depth. Just take if and else statements to be your regular if and else in your everyday life. For example, now let's say as a person or as a guy, you want to go market, you know, say you get clothes, you get shirts, like your t-shirt, plenty parts your trousers. So you don't already thought, say, okay, if I have more trousers, I will buy more shirts. Or if I have more shirts, I will buy more trousers. What you are doing at that point is you are making a decision. So when you are writing code, you can actually make decisions in your code. And to make decisions in your code, you use if and else. It's just like you tell yourself, if I wake up in the morning, there's Indomie, I will cook Indomie. If there's no Indomie, I will just manage that remaining rice from last night. As a human being, you have just made a decision. So we can do that in our code. To do that, we use if and else statements. So I can say if, open a bracket. Inside this bracket, I put the condition. In this case, what is going to be my condition is, I want to make sure that the user input dot value, okay, the user input dot value is not equal to empty string. Okay, so what I'm saying here is, if the user input dot value is not equal to empty string, then open curly bracelets, the same curly bracelets we have in our function, and then I'll move all of this code in here. Do you see that? So if you note this now, look at what the condition is saying. The condition is saying, if user input dot value is not empty, run this. Did you see that? And then we can have an else, like I told you, when you are making conditions, it's like if and else. So if for example, you wake up, you say, okay, if there's Indomie, I'll eat Indomie. But if there's no Indomie, I will eat the remaining rice from last night. That is a decision you have just made, an if and else decision you have just made. So to make that decision, make the decision, we have used an if to make the decision. The else part now is what we execute if this is not true. So if this condition is true, that is the user input dot value is not equal to empty string, this will run. But if it is equal to empty string, the else part will run. All we want to do in this else part is just alert, please enter something. You can put any English you like. Okay, you can put any English you like. Please enter something. So let's see this in action now. Okay, watch what happens when I refresh this page and I click on this button without entering anything. You see, the alert says, please enter something. click it again, please enter something. But what happens when I say enter something like buy salad, click on add? You see it works now. And it's working perfectly. Now, the other thing I would like us to fix here before we discuss and call it a day is, you will notice that even after adding one, if I keep on clicking, it will keep on adding the same thing over and over again. That's because this text box is not clearing out. Normally, what we want is, once the user is done adding, we want to clear this text box. We don't want buy salad to remain there. Else, if the user keeps clicking, the same thing will be repeating over and over and over again. So we want to fix this. Okay, somebody is asking, what does the not operator do? Okay, let me quickly explain that. Okay, what this not operator does is, let me zoom in so you can see that a bit clearer. Now, you can notice we have the not operator here. It's actually an operator. If you've done programming for a while, you might have been hearing of not. In JavaScript, this is the not operator. It's more like, now, if in JavaScript to say equal to, you use double equal to. So in this case, we are saying if user inputs dot value is equal to empty string. But we don't want it to be equal to. So that's why I used not. This one now is saying not equal to. That's what the not operator is doing. It's making sure that the user input dot value is not equal to an empty string. That's what that is doing there. All right. So it's the not operator there. So to fix this problem now, what we can do is, whenever a user is done adding something, okay, whenever a user just add something, we want to clear this input element. We want to empty it. How can we do that? Very simple. This, inside this if statement is the place we are writing the code to add it. What we can do is, after adding it, after this line adding it, we can say user input dot value. We want to set it equal to empty string. That's all we want to do there. Watch now. Once I add something, you see, it clears. So I can add the same thing over and over again. If I come again and I say buy salad, click on add, boom, buy salad was added and it was cleared out. And that's the basics. We have our simple basic to do app there. Simple. All right, so that's just it. And you can see how many lines of JavaScript code we wrote here. This app might even look awful to you, but I remember this was the very first app I built. No, I think second or third. The second or third app I built with JavaScript. And my head one was that time. All right. So one thing is, right now it's not looking that fine because we did not do all of the styling and all of that. By the time we add CSS to this now, you're not going to know the app again. All right. So this is just the basics. All right. It's just the basic to do app. And you can see we used concepts like functions, if and else statements, which are conditionals, and we use the DOM to grab the elements that we want to manipulate. So if you've got any question, okay, please feel free to ask now before I do the final discussion, and we can call it a day. So please ask your questions, or if you have pointers, something you feel we can fix here. Okay, or do you guys want us to style it a bit? Just wave your hand, let me know. See, if you want us to add more styling. Of course, now go watch. I know you. All right, so let's just do a simple styling, okay, under 5 minutes. All right, so to do the styling, I'll just create a CSS file. We'll call this, main.css. All right. And of course, you know, just like your JavaScript, you have to import your main.css in your HTML. So let's have a link tag here. And in the link tag, we'll tell it we want it to link to main.css. That's all. So in our CSS code, the first thing I want to do, although we did not think of the styling, I like having a plan before styling. Plan no day, so we'll style it anyhow. The first thing I want to do is grab this H1, or is it H2? H2. I want to grab that H2 and give it a background color. So I can say H2, all right, give it a background color. Let me use hexa color. Okay, in CSS, you can actually use normal color like red, blue, white, and so on and so forth. But those of us that like showing off, like myself, we like using hexacolor. And why I like it is because hexacolor will give you a bit more of color blends. And for the ladies, don't worry, we have those your colors too. You know all those your foreign colors like wine or purple green, or what do you guys call those your colors? All those your lipstick colors and co. We have them too. But I basically just like using hexa value. For example, if I do red here and I save it, it will still work. You can see it works. Okay. But you can notice that we have some space around all of our elements. If you notice why that is happening, that's because if you remember, for those of you that have done CSS, remember that by default, the browser will give some default margin and padding to your document. Okay. If you don't understand that, you can go watch the last video I uploaded on that shopping fashion page we built. I talked about this there. So to fix it, we can use the star to get rid of it. So we say padding 0, margin 0, and save that. Perfect. You can see all of the padding and margin are gone. So what I want to do now, in this H1, I want to use a different color. It's called hexa color. So for hexa, for black, you just do 0, 0, 0. That should give you black in 6 places. You see that as black, but I don't want black. But what I wanted is, if you use hexa value in VS Code, you can actually hover over it, and this color palette will show up. So this is what I actually wanted. I think there's a shortcut for it, but I've forgotten it. So the easiest way I use is use hexa value over. Once you type hash, any number at all, just make sure whatever you type after the hash is not more than 6. This thing will come up. So the color I actually want to use is this color here. I remember the to-do app I built then used this color. Yeah, this color here. So I can save that. You can see the color right there. I also want to give it a little bit of padding. So let's do padding of 30 px all around. Good. Oh, 30 is a bit much. So let's do 20. I want to change the color to white instead of that color here. So let's make the color to be white. I think white is FFFF. Yeah, it should be. All right, good. I also want to change the font. So I'll change the font. If you don't know most of these things I'm changing, if you watch any of my latest videos, I explained most of these on YouTube. So for those of you who currently are not, I guess everyone here is part of the group, right? You are part of the WhatsApp group. If you are not, I will drop a link in the chat currently. Let me go ahead and drop that link. Where is that link? I should be able to grab the link here. Invite to your group link, copy link. All right, yeah. So I'll paste the link on the chat right now. You can join the group with the link. Okay. So you can join the group with the link. And also, I think for the YouTube channel, if you still don't have the link or you've not subscribed yet, I think I pasted the link some days back. I hate looking for messages on WhatsApp. Yeah. Hallelujah, I got it there. All right, so I've pasted the link, so you can join or subscribe to the channel, and you will get most of the latest video and where I talked about some of this styling. So for fonts family, there's a font I like using called Poppins. Now I have this font on my system, so I can just write it. If I don't have it, I'll have to either go download it or use Google Fonts. And I have a video on that too. Okay, if you watch the last project we built, that shopping page we built, okay, I explained how to use Google Fonts there. So, and also while you're on the YouTube channel, bad me you subscribe. That would help me make videos too. All right, so I have this font installed, so I can just use it. I don't have to download or import it. I have it on my system. I like the font so much that I've been using it, and it's on my system already. All right, so I'll change the fonts to Poppins. And I think that kind of does it for the header. Let's also style this input element and this button. So I can come here and grab the input elements. So we can say input, all right? I want to give it a, you know what I want to do to all of these elements is I want to wrap all of them. This input, this UL, I want to wrap all of them in a div tag. Okay, so I can style them easily. I'll give the div tag an ID of wrapper. Okay, give it an ID of wrapper. So in my main.css, first of all, let's grab that wrapper. Since it's an ID, let's grab it by an ID. I want to give it a little bit of padding all around. So let's do 20 ps padding. Okay, I was even zoomed in, no wonder. Everything was looking odd. All right, I think the padding makes sense. Let's just style these buttons a little bit. So for this button, for these input elements, I want to give it a width. Let's give it a width of, let's see if we can do 80%. Yeah, that's pretty okay. Let's also give it a padding. Let's do a padding of 8 ps top and bottom, 20 ps left and right. Yeah, that makes it a bit easier. So we can type like this here. Let's also style this button. So I'll grab the button too. I'll give it the same styling as this input tag. It's just that I'll reduce its own width to maybe 10%. Oops, 10 is too small. Let's do 20. 20 is kind of big, so let's reduce this other one to 70 here. Yeah, this makes a little bit more sense. Okay, we can even style this button if we want. So let's give the button the same background color as our header. Perfect, and the same color too. Let's give it that color of white too. Good. We can get rid of this border that it has. You know, by default, your button will have some default border. So we can just say border equals to 0 or no, set it to none. And also outline. Outline, none. Perfect. You can see the button makes sense. Also, if my cursor moves to this button, I don't want it to show this triangle. I want it to show a hand to tell the user that yes, you can click on it. So to do that with CSS, we just say cursor, set it to pointer, save that. Watch what happens now when the cursor moves there. You see it turns to that hand there. All right. I think that's kind of it. Let's also just style this UL a bit. So for the UL, let's just grab the UL. Let's just give it a margin top of maybe 30 px. Perfect. And I think that's it. That's okay with the styling. You see, it works well now. You can say go to the market, click on that, buy salad. For those of you who always see me writing salad, now because I like it, not my fault. All right. So buy salad and you can, and that's it. It's basically already working. And you see, the funny thing is, you remember initially I planned that we will use objects for this, and you can see that we don't even use objects and we still built it. All right. That's the mystery in programming. There are a lot of ways to always achieve one thing. Okay, but me, I like using the easiest and the smartest way because, like I said, I'm too lazy. Okay, as long as it works and my code is not rubbish. All right? It's not as if I can't do it the hard way, but why do it the hard way when you can do it the simple way? All right, guys, so that's our to-do app, all right? That's our to-do app, basic HTML, CSS. It is working perfectly, and everything is good to go. That's just the app right there. Of course, you can do the hosting. Like I said, there's a video online on that if you want to do the hosting, all right? So you can go ahead and use the video to do the hosting and all of that. So in case, when I release this video, for those of you who want to follow and do it and host it, you can do that. Stella, you want to say something?
Yes. Can we just remove what's it called?
These bullets here.
Yeah, the bullets. Or is it okay like that?
Yeah, it can be okay. We can change it. We can leave it there. But you know, normally, if I was making it to do, I think the video I will be releasing will be introducing a far more cleaner and more standard to do than this, because normally the to-dos I build that I wanted us to build, but because of time I had to go for this simpler one. I needed a to-do that a user can even check if they have done it or not done it. You know, when you have a list of things to do for the day, when you are done with one, normally you will check it, right? So the plan was I would add that, but because of time we can't go that deep. But the one I'll be releasing will be going that deep. There will be a check mark to mark a to-do as being done or not being done. But for these bullets, we can actually leave it. We can take it off. We don't want it. But you know, we can change this bullet style, right? We can do that using HTML. If you remember, we can change, using CSS. We can change the list style type. By default, is disk. But I think we can change to, I hardly do all of this, but I still remember the basics. We should be able to change this. So we can do square. You see, change to square. We can even do, I think, circle. And you see, change to circle. Whichever one works fine for you. If you want to get rid of it totally, you can. You can just set list style to none. And that will get rid of it totally. But I kind of like it there, since we don't have that check mark. I kind of just like it. But if you want to get rid of it, you can do list style none. Alright? So that does it. Alright, and that's just it. So it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. That is our to do. You can add in the one I'll be releasing online. Okay, you'll be able to add a to do. You can even delete from it. So after adding, you can decide to delete. But of course, the code will be a bit more complex than this, because that will be using objects. But you can still do this if you want to, and this works fine too. At least for a beginner, this exposes you to a lot of JavaScript concepts that, if you understand most of these concepts we discuss here, you don't sabi JavaScript be that. And another thing we might like to fix is when the app loads, we don't want this to do to show. Okay, we don't want anyone to show at all. So we can totally get rid of all of this here. Okay, just get rid of it. Get rid of it, save it, and that's it. So once we get rid of it now, once the app loads, nothing is showing. But then you can come and put in some things yourself. Go to the market, and it still works fine. Instead of buying salad, let's eat it once and for all. Eat salad. See, that still works. So that's totally up to you. So any questions, please? Wow. No questions. Any contribution? Abdurrahman, Alpha. Oh, Mr. Ajayi, please, you can speak.
Okay, good day everyone, and our able facilitator. Mine is a commendation as well. Yes, I want to personally thank you for your work, your selflessness, and your passion. But we can see it. Yes, it's very real. We hope and pray that we all get it right. That's we will. You understand? Yes. So what we will still beg for is, you see, just so you've mentioned before, that we cannot get this done except we keep on practicing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we require all of this recording, so that
yes, it's actually being recorded right now.
So that once we get all of these things, all of these materials, we'll get abreast with them and start, getting our hands dirty. I know it's not easy, but we definitely get it right. So thank you so. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
Just like I mentioned the other day, I think I hope you are still open to my proposal.
Yes, I was even trying to look for you on the group.
Right? Yeah, I looked for you too. I could not get you. I was mistaking you for someone else.
Oh, okay. And just search. I think my. All right. You know what I will do? Let me just drop my WhatsApp number on the chat. So I'll just drop that there.
All right. I'll pick it from there. Thank you so much. Thank you. And to all the participants, thank you.
Thank you guys for joining. Okay, so please, like he mentioned, okay, one thing I will tell you as a beginner is programming in general can sometimes look frustrating. That one is sure. But one of my students once asked me something one day in class, and it was like, is it a must we do this? Is it a must we do that? The truth to it is, it's not a must to do anything in life. You can decide to sit in your house all day and don't go out and don't eat and don't. It's not a must to do anything in life. But the thing is, you just have to. Okay, there are just some things you just have to. And for people who say programming is difficult, yes, I agree with you. It is. But the truth about it is there any other thing? Is there anything in life at all that is easy? Like, there is basically nothing that is easy to do. What I can just tell you is with constant practice and with constant practice, you would overcome it. Okay, you see these things that I'm teaching, and you'll be like, hey, how did it? There was a point that I didn't even know what a tag is or anything, but I got there and I've passed it. You will too. In fact, some of them say feel bad pass me and I just they hide already. I know that one. Once I know of one particular guy that does that. So it happens, okay? It's not too difficult that you can learn, okay? As long as you are alive, you're a human being. Nobody is too dull to know programming, okay? It's just sometimes in order for you to grab a hold of something, you might practice more than other people practiced. But it's part of there are some people that can just sit right now within 1 hour, they get it. You go sit 3 hours, you never get it. They ask yourself, not the same class me and this person attend. It happens. Okay, things like that happens. But what you need to just know is that it's never, how do I put this? I'm trying to get out my number. Okay, so what I was trying to say is it's not too difficult that you can't learn it. And it might not be as easy as you expect, but you would pull through. Okay, just keep that at the back of your mind. You will pull through. Okay, so if you've still got any question, you can chat me up on the number. I'm putting that in there right now. Okay, 07014792393. Yeah, 2393. I might even just drop a message on the group chat too. If you've got questions, though I can't promise you that I would only answer your question back to back, because as I'm talking with you right now, I'm even behind schedule because of a lot of errors I've been getting. But I'll try as much as possible to reply your questions if you drop any. And you can also drop on the group. That's why that group was created. If anybody drops a question and you have an idea, please speak up. Okay, you can see most of the people in the group, they're always trying to shun people. Most of them, I don't already talk to them. If you've got a contribution on anything, please drop it. The only thing you should just try to do is try as much as possible to be respectful of everybody. Don't somebody asks something and you feel this thing is too simple. Why are you asking? Don't do that. Okay, just be respectful. Just respect everyone there. Be polite. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to answer questions. Nothing is too small for you to answer, and no contribution is too small. If I ask a question and you have an opinion, please drop it. Don't say, now they ask questions, she and me want to answer them. Please drop your question there. All right. So with that being said, thank you all for joining. If you've got questions, feel free to ask. If you've got any contribution, you can still make it. And hopefully, anytime I'm free again and I feel there's something we can talk on, okay, I would still drop a message on the group and we can have a meeting again. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining. God bless you.